Welcome to Alignment First, where it is our mission to bring leaders back to their peace, presence, and power. And I have the honor and the pleasure to sit with Rita Hudgens, Transform University holistic mindset life coach. We shout out to Chris Widener.
Absolutely.
We sat in his container, you, me, Coach Dar. She's been on the show before. And we sat in a container to elevate our respective coaching practices. And then the world fell apart.
Yes. It was a great toilet paper shortage. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The great run on toilet paper of 2020. And, you know, it's so interesting. Here we are in 2026. I'm now at your gym. We've reconnected and rekindled this relationship, this friendship. And, you know, I've been admiring Transform University and your message and your work for so long, running what I feel like in parallel to you, to now have this opportunity because we share space on a regular basis in the gym now, and to be able to have this conversation. I'm honored and I'm grateful to have this conversation today.
Oh, well, thank you, Michael. I feel the exact same way about you, and I'm so glad we reconnected. It was at the NSA meeting, correct?
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about a year ago, and then the gym.
That's
so
right.
It was just, it was meant to be.
So let's go. Let's touch on the origin story. Give me the journey into Transform University. How did all that come to be?
Yeah, what I like to look at is mountaintops and valleys when we look at life and the defining moments. And there's always, after the mountaintops, usually there's a valley. But the great news is after the valleys, there's the mountaintops. If we choose, it's always a choice. And so looking back, and I know this is just, a shock to you, but I'm not a spring chicken. So I have some years to look back at. So I would say one of the biggest defining moments actually was August 28th of 2001. My greatest role in life has always been raising my children. I had 4 children; they're adult children now, but I had gone through a chronic lung infection after I gave birth to my last baby, and so I was pretty sick. I was also running a home business, homeschooling my kids. I was burning the candle on both ends. Does that sound familiar? I mean, we talk about hustle culture.
You candle both ends? Shocker.
Not a type A personality or anything. I ended up in the ICU, intubated to save my life.
Oh, wow.
On that day, I just knew all the inhalers I was carrying around, holding a little baby on my hip everywhere, taking the kids to swim, to ballet, to everything. It was like something is horribly wrong here. And the starter husband at the time got me to the hospital, but they didn't diagnose, they didn't know what was the matter with me. And so they were sending me up to 4th floor in Osborne here in Scottsdale. And the resident who was working at the time said, something's wrong here. We have to get her to the ICU. She's dying. And I was down to my last breath. And thank God, spoiler alert, here I am. But it was a very, very scary moment. And, I'm a slow learner. When I woke up a couple of days later, my first question to the doctor is, when can I start running again? And I just thought I could hit the pavement. I could do everything I was doing. And so I'd like to take, just for your listeners, just a tiny, I like that, let's call it an alignment first moment. How many of those listening are also in that arena where we wear our busyness as a badge of honor? Looking back now, especially as a life coach, I didn't know what my identity was. It was like I was a mom and I could do all these things, and that impressed people. Oh, you're only getting 2 hours sleep and you have a newborn, and just go, go, go. That was lack of confidence in who I was. And also looking at strengths, because our strengths, we all have strengths, but our strengths can be overused and they can be underused. I was overusing my strength of, a hard work ethic, of trying to make a difference, of service. And also we look at unmet needs. So looking at those things, unmet needs of just not feeling like I had to earn.
Yeah. It's I'm
What about
gonna
you?
I'm gonna interrupt you
Yes,
because
please do.
in a lot of the work that I do now, I think it piggybacks on identity, and specifically with a lot of the women that we work with, Joanna and I. Beyond identity, there's a need to reframe what contribution looks like, because in today's society, what I'm noticing is this trend, this theme, this pattern that contribution is exclusively tied to financial contribution. And
Absolutely.
and why I'm ever so subtly pigeonholing women in this category is because the women are waiting till later in life to start families, find their lobster, get married, start that phase of their lives. And in doing so, they're already established financially. And when you have to take a break, whether it's maternity leave or beyond or longer, there's a shift in identity that comes with motherhood that also exists in fatherhood, but not to the same extreme. In that, I always joke with my wife, for the first, 18 months, 2 years, I'm irrelevant. Like from a pure evolutionary perspective, those kids don't need dad. You know what I mean? The way that they need mom, and reframing what contribution is and the value of it is a large portion of the conversation that we have with women who are transitioning in and out or adjusting the ratio of their work-life balance. And it's at least in our work at Next Level, that's a more common conversation with women than it is for men.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of times people also only identify success with finances. So, looking at that from both of those perspectives, it's the lens of what is success. And, looking at identity, especially how did you do this with your military background? That's what I was going to ask you, your military background, looking at alignment first, progress always.
Yeah.
How did you make the shift from mind over matter to
man.
mind with matter?
Are you familiar with Gene Keys?
I am not.
Okay.
Educate me.
So this is going to be a very elementary education, but it's a personality profile that taps into the stars and how your chakras align and all kinds. I'm butchering this because it's not my expertise, but when I had my gene keys assessed for me, what showed up that wasn't explicit in even the personality, the assessment that we leverage at Next Level, the Berkman, is this pattern for Michael that is heretic in nature, in that for so long in my life, that the whole break it till it's fixed, 70% solution, build the airplane on the way down, on the way off the cliff, behavior, I started to experience a lot of diminishing returns with it. Like I couldn't figure things out as fast or as efficient. I've chosen a career path that solves much more complex problems that are far more esoteric in nature than they are systematic. And in doing so, those patterns and behaviors that I had that got me to this point were no longer serving me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went through a period of unlearning in my post-military life, where knife hands and motherfucks just don't get it done out here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for my team when I had the gym, and you know, for my clients as the practice evolved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's something to be said for just doing it, making the decision and go. And there's a lot more to be said with the exploration of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, I had a moment during the monsoon as I was transitioning away from the gym where it's like Tuesday afternoon, pouring down rain. The kids are going nuts in the street. And I'm on the front porch with my wife, and I have this out of body experience where I'm watching me watch my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize, and this is where this is the embodiment of the concept of alignment for me. Because we are the creators of our own reality. I truly believe that. And in that observation, I realized that if I was doing things the way that I used to, I'm not here for this moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everything that I'm building moving forward is with the intention of insulating these moments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not to create an unrealistic expectation that I'm gonna be there for everything all the time.
Right.
Okay. But most importantly, the making sure that I can be there for as many of them as humanly possible within my control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the model, the level of coaching, and the level of client I need to serve to create that insulation forced me to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that I was doing it before I wouldn't come close. I'd go right back to missing all of that shit. So that was my inciting incident in this season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I really commend you for that, because that's one of the most difficult things to do. And the way that I view it with my lens of coaching is, you know, we all have our inner critics. And successful high performers, the inner critic is, man, it drives you. And it drives you to that level of success that if you slow down, if you even take little micro breaks, you're going to lose it all. The other shoe's going to drop. You're going to lose your edge, you know? And so for you to make that drastic change, I give you a lot of credit.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I receive that fully.
Yeah.
You know, you were around with your starter husband, professional athletics for so long.
So long.
And I don't want to rob you of your type A-ness. However, there is a level of keeping up and pushing yourself that almost happens by osmosis in that environment. I know that from playing college ball and my time in the Marine Corps. Like, I just watched that rub off on spouses and significant others more often than we'd like to give it credit for. So I'm curious, because that's not the Rita that I know. You know what I mean? Like there's a dog eat dog, win at all cost element of you that I've never experienced. And I'm curious, did it ever exist? And if it did, how did you make the shift into the high EQ, empathetic Rita that I know now?
Oh, you're so kind. I think if we look at the arenas of our lives, so I see myself as a type A, as the homeschool mom, as the, the wife that had, oh, you know what? We just got released and we've got to go from West Haven, Connecticut to San Jose. And guess who's going to pack everything up and get everything ready and move to Venezuela and do this? That's where I feel my type A was, just get it done, just get it done. And I like to think that I was really kind to my kids along the way. But my kids will tell some stories. Hey, remember when mom threw the Spanish cassette tapes? We were in Venezuela. She threw it across the wall because we weren't being obedient. So, there are times, hey, I lost it. And so I think when I see my type A, it's not like I guess I blend it when I'm dealing with people to be kind and because I just look at people as so valuable and I never want to, run anyone over. Although I have, been accused of that goes back to my kids, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Kind of like a girl, pastor said, oh, there's Rita the General. Anything you get done, give it to her. So I think it's basically in that arena, but I always tried to be mindful of people and respect. And, just I'm a nurturer just by nature. I don't even want to disappoint my dog. I don't open up the closet door unless we're going on a walk because she knows that's where the leash is. And so I'm a nurturer by nature, and that can be overused as well. I don't know if that answered your question about the.
No, it totally does. It sounds like, well, let me ask you this then. Where does your high level of self-awareness come from?
Good question. It's one of the mountaintops and valleys. In 2010, I got a divorce after being married for 31 years. And I was lost. I was lost as far as who I was, having to start over again. And it's like, I got to put my big girl pants on. What am I going to do? And the first thing that I did was I got certified as a Pilates instructor. Always loved the gym, workout, movements. I ran for years and years. And I got certified. I had 2 certifications as a Pilates instructor. And I just thought, there just is more. And actually, a baseball wife had mentioned to me, she goes, Rita, have you ever thought about being a life coach? You listen very deeply to people and you just have this way of saying things that land. And I thought, I had never thought about that. And so I started looking into life coaching, and this was 2012 now. And I go, that's what I feel I was made to do. That's me. I would give my kids lessons when, the boys played baseball and say they, struck out with bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth. Horrible when you're, 13. And I'd say, let's go up on the roof and look at the lay of the land. Now, how do you feel about this now? And my oldest son still remembers going up on the roof and looking at that. And I thought, you know what? I was made to do this. And so when you talk about, the awareness and the transformation, I have to say that it came through my trainings. And I have 7 going on 8 certifications just because one of my strengths, I love to learn. And it's, if I can learn this, I can help this person. And so that's where a lot of the awareness came from of, what my identity was and what my strengths are, where I overused it. And the emotional intelligence portion is huge. It's huge. If people only were aware of how powerful, especially now in the age of AI, how powerful, we are as human beings. God designed us a certain way with, the heart intelligence and with the gut intuition. And so it's just being able to use that. And when we're living in the hustle culture, we're not, as your example that you gave me, we're not able to go outside there and see this view and saying, I want to insulate that. we just can't, because there are too many distractions. There's too many things going on.
Yeah. There's an element of patience with oneself that's required. You know, I subscribe to the belief system that we don't, it's like self-actualization. We don't ever actually arrive.
Oh, right. No, absolutely.
But we get the gift of these moments that it's like, man, I want more of that. But for most people, it's been my experience in 25 years on the training floor and the last decade in some version of the coaching that we do now, people just skip over those moments. They're just like, it's like a blip on the screen and they just keep it moving. And it really inhibits their ability to design the life that they truly desire.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, you know, I have a lot of clients in which, you know, they've made a lot of money. They've done incredible things. They serve big missions, and they've never taken life for a test drive. And it's like, well, how do you know you actually want that next thing? You know, have you walked that new build, that 6,000 square foot home? Have you test driven that really fast European resto mod? You know, you know, have you gone to that restaurant to try that cuisine of that country that you want to visit? You know, how do you really know that you want to do it, that you want those things, sans that's what everybody else has?
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh shit. Like it's so interesting to me, regardless of where you're at on the socioeconomic ladder, this concept of taking life for a test drive. And I'm so grateful for a mentor of mine in my 20s who gave me that wisdom. You know, I think it's one of those unteachable lessons that I decided not to learn myself. Right. And it has really given me patience to grow into the things that I actually desire because Michael wants them, not because everybody else who's successful in this arena has those things. You know, and I'm curious, you know, when you hear that concept of taking life for a test drive and having the lived experience that you've had, what's landing for you?
As far as for me, or my viewpoint for the subject?
Yeah, your viewpoint for the subject and how that manifests in your lived experience.
Yeah, well, this is the biggest challenge that I face with my clients, because my clients are all very successful, but it's the chase. It's the next thing, and just getting them to be able to. I don't like, saying, we've got to stop your inner critic, that one that's driving it, because our inner critic has gotten us where we're at. If you look at hypervigilant or a controller or a perfectionist, there's nothing wrong with being vigilant. It's just the hyper part. And I hope I'm answering your question.
Yep, keep going.
It's finding that balance where, okay, take little micro doses of test drives if you can't take the test drive, because that is too big of an ask for some people, that they're afraid they're going to lose something if they take a test drive. They're afraid they're going to miss it, especially in this social media driven comparison world where we don't know what's real and what's fake,
right?
And the AI video, we don't know. And people are so distracted. But what I try to get my clients to do is take those little micro doses of that drive, even if it's a couple of times a day, 2 minutes a day, twice a day, because that will help rewire the brain to, oh, you know what? This feels good.
Yeah.
And getting in touch with, I want to take another little drive here and one here, and then maybe realize, what the chase is all about.
What's showing up for me there is, would you agree that time is our most valuable asset, cliche as that sounds?
Absolutely, because
Okay.
we never get it back.
Right. So here's my pushback to it being a leap too far or losing your edge,
Mhm,
and to reframe the test drive.
mhm,
If you got to a place where you had achieved a uh, material existence that met all of your needs, the only thing left, and it was all the stuff that you wanted, that Rita desires,
mhm,
right? The only thing left to invest in is getting your time back,
mhm,
so that you can experience life more fully,
mhm, mhm.
right? And
Right.
that's a totally different kind of investment, right?
Mhm,
that's building a more robust uh, business system. That's that's creating efficiency in your life so that you can go do things now that are less required and more desired.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So your decision matrix becomes different when you're not chasing the Joneses.
Absolutely. And one of the, I mean, things that warms my heart the most when I hear a client say, I want to talk about time. And I'm just thinking, oh no, not time management again. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
moments,
Mm-hmm.
creating legacy. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, the work that
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing, it's work because we can't get the time back. And viewing time
Mm-hmm.
as memories and legacy and
Mm-hmm.
purpose makes all the difference. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
getting people to be able to shift that lens.
I have a friend of mine who gave me wisdom about 2 years ago. He's like, Michael, because he's much further along in parenting than I am.
Mhm.
He's like, Michael, you got to get to a place where it ain't about the presents, it's about the experiences. And he got himself to a place when his kids, his boys are 2 years apart, when they were 13 and 11.
Mhm.
He's like, that was the last Christmas we had at home.
Mhm.
Now their family tradition is they celebrate Christmas on some kind of inside of some kind of experience. So there's no
Mhm.
exchange of gifts. What they're
Mhm.
doing is they're creating a collection of memories as a family. And I'm like, dude, and
Yeah.
as that rings so true for me as a military child,
Mhm.
because I don't remember any of the gifts that I got as a kid, but I know exactly where I was, in
Mhm.
some foreign country, doing something really cool that you could never do stateside. Like
Mhm.
those are the things that I've taken with me into adulthood. I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, that's the game,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm.
What a wise friend. And
Mm-hmm.
it's true. And that's what I try to do with my kids is
Mm-hmm.
just know we're creating memories.
Yeah.
Even if it's, didn't have a lot of money, but, went to this
Mm-hmm.
Yosemite and, one of the kids locked the minivan and we're stuck outside and I'm, 7 months pregnant. And it's, the little girl who did that at the time, I think she was 7, my daughter, and she goes, one day we're going to say, oh, that's a great memory. But it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's those moments and those memories
Mm-hmm.
because we're never going to be able to get them back.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, coach to coach.
Okay.
You strike me as somebody who is in this way of thinking to varying degrees all day, every day.
Mhm. Absolutely. You're right.
And how do who do you surround yourself with? Because that way of thinking is not normal. You spend 5 minutes in that gym and you're just like, geez, no, that's why I wear headphones. Like there's there's so much glass half empty pessimism.
Mhm.
Did you see what they're doing over there in some place
Mhm.
that doesn't, like,
Mhm.
how do you curate your circle of influence so that you're able to stay in this beautiful place as consistently as possible?
Yeah. Well, things are always going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk specifically at the gym. And you're absolutely right. Is like either complaining about this or this drama is going on over here. And it's like I try to look at opportunity. I try not to get into conversations with people,
Mm-hmm.
although my husband, the keeper husband, would disagree. And said, "Are you done talking yet?" Really, I try not to because I want to just be very intentional. He's very intentional with his workouts, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to honor that. But like if someone is struggling,
Mm-hmm.
I just had to have this surgery or this, I'll just try to drop little seeds of,
Mm-hmm.
not like, well, at least you don't have this, but but something like, well, what do you see that may be a little bit better than it was yesterday? So I
Mm-hmm.
just try to leave people with something that's
Mm-hmm.
going to make them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And
And,
that's what I try to do.
yeah, and when you're not with your keeper husband,
Mhm.
love him to death, and you guys are uh, what Nicole and I would describe as couple mentors.
Oh, that's
Like
sweet.
you guys are living life together. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's cool to work out with your significant other, but you can tell that you legitimately enjoy each other's company, which is super dope.
Thank you.
Uh, so if not him, and
Mhm.
and not the fulfillment that comes with working with your clients,
Mhm.
who else is in your circle of influence that keeps you up here, that keeps you vibrating at a high frequency?
Yeah. God, number one, another moment that I didn't share, and we won't have time, we could do this another time, is 2021. I thought I went through COVID fine, but I ended up with long haul COVID, and it
Mm-hmm.
reactivated Epstein-Barr, it reactivated Lyme disease, mast cell activate. I was a bit of a mess for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to, even as a coach, I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn how to live in faith. I had to learn how to stay optimistic because optimism is my authentic energy. Coach to coach, we know about energies,
Mm-hmm.
we get it.
Yep.
Optimism is just my natural authentic energy. Well, there's times when it can be,
Not
you
feeling so optimistic right now.
you gotta fight for that
Mhm.
optimistic. And so it was like that's when I went into a much deeper level in the mind body
Mhm.
connection. And I've got to figure out a way to fix my central nervous system and to do this because I was getting the IVs, I was doing the hyperbaric, I was getting the lymphatic, everything that I knew to do was not working.
Mhm.
And so I had to learn how to coach myself and how to reframe things for myself sooner because based on what I know of emotional intelligence for myself,
Mhm.
if I get discouraged, that is my first warning sign. That's my body, okay,
What's your signal?
discouraged. Because if I get discouraged, it's going to take me down a path that I don't want to go.
Mhm.
So I've coached myself to recognize, oh, that's discouragement.
Mhm.
Let's switch it to this. And
Mhm.
maybe it can be just a cup of coffee. As far as people, my husband is the keeper husband
Mhm.
is, like you said, he's amazing and he gets me and we have a great connection. My children and in my NSA circle, my
Mhm.
National Speakers
There you
Association,
go.
I have
Mhm.
just such a great network
Mhm.
of people that, we just meet sometimes, once a month, when we can, just to check in. How's everybody doing? And of course, I'm the one asking all the questions. So what's going on there? And I can't help it. I don't want to be annoying, but you're a coach. We're curious.
Yep.
And always want to help people. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
No, that's awesome. I think that answer would be different for everybody all the time. But it's one of the things that, when you're looking at how you create and or shift identity and belief systems, having that goal is cool. But if you don't change the circles of influence or the environment, the chances of achieving it are slim to none. And at the very least, you're making an uphill battle that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And identity is so important. And, we can use professional athletes, college athletes as an example. Career-ending injury or aging out. Many of them, they lose it because their identity was wrapped in what they did. And so when people recognize we have different roles in life, I was a mom, I was a wife, I'm still a wife, life coach, but yet that isn't who we are at our core. And our identity is, our values, our strengths, our talents, and putting all of that together and understanding that makes all the difference in the world.
Right. It's so interesting, that moment on the porch is what really did it for me. It's like, in order to support that idea, I started reverse engineering all the shifts that I was going to have to make and really step into some very uncomfortable spaces for me, because, like I used to do this, there's this thing in training called client math. If I want to do a thing, if I want to buy that, if I want to take a trip or whatever, I need X amount of clients for this long, right? Well, now we're playing a totally different game. We're talking about going from checkers to chess in terms of the skill and the reframe required to achieve it. And it was fucking scary.
Oh, it's very scary because it took you out of your comfort zone. And that's why I'm curious as far as what kept you going, what keeps you going still with that, because it is uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, you get hints, and for me in that evolution, I just started, because I'm so curious, it makes the burden a little bit less, because I'll ask questions before I really care about the answer. And what I mean by that is, for example, the first retreat I launched right before the pandemic.
Right. I remember that.
Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. This heretic behavior. Break it till it's fixed. I had the inception of this retreat. I had 3 amazing keynotes over the course I had 1 per day over the course of the weekend. And I was like, I went out there at 15 grand, and I threw it out and saw, just was genuinely curious what the field was going to give me back. And I will never forget the 4-arm long email that I received, and the subject line said, "You're not Tony Robbins."
Oh my God. Oh man, tell me about that.
I almost didn't open that shit. I was, but he was an old client of mine, and was very much on the path of personal growth and development, and had been to a lot of Tony's programs, VIP and da. And at the time, I just wasn't one for market research. I just knew the value that I had brought to my clients. And I was like, you know what? This is what I would do it for. Okay. Not knowing what I didn't know. And in that email, like line by line, he was like, this is not to dampen your sail, take the wind out of your sails, but here's all the things reputation, experience, education, blah, blah, body of work, and also what you're offering that don't add up to $15,000. And this is what a $15,000 experience looks like.
Oh, wow.
It's a destination. It's, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to do that? Who's speaking? Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh, so what in, he didn't take the wind out of my sails, and he didn't hit me with the reality stick per se, but he showed me the bridge from where I was to where I wanted to go.
Yeah. He gave you a path.
And I was like, okay, so then if I just took it line by line and looked at it like a recipe, like, who do I need to become to check that box? Who do I need to coach to check that box? What rooms do I need to be in to check that box? And, all of a sudden, through the exploration of that curiosity, I was able to evolve myself and my practice, that when the universe and I created a set of circumstances where the gym was no longer viable, and it was actually the anchor holding back everything that I'm doing now, I was then prepared, at least in experience, acumen, and interest, to move the needle in this regard.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot about you. I mean, initially just seeing that, my heart would have just.
Oh, my ego was dancing a jig on my heart. Okay. It was just like, screw that guy. I did the whole thing.
But what a great friend.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? It was years later. I bumped into him at a dinner, and this is the thing. He doesn't even remember writing it. Wow. Okay. So, and that really goes to show the character of a person when they do something out of the goodness of their heart and good faith that is so innocuous to them, and it had such a profound impact on me. It's really interesting, and I'm curious for you. It's for sure what's kept me in this game for 25 plus years now is every once in a while you bump into that person forever later, and they're like, hey, that thing that you did way back when, that's the reason I'm where I am now. And like, it's like my guilty desire. Like, man, if I could just get more of that more frequently, but if you did, you'd probably take it for granted, so the fact that it comes so intermittently makes that so valuable. And for me, I'm curious where this lands for you. It always shows up when I need it the most, when I'm like questioning my practice. Am I having the impact? Is it ever going to manifest? And it's like, hey, dude, just so you know, I'm doing the thing that you coached me to do forever ago. And I thank you for it. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll keep going. What does that look? What does that look like for you?
I think for me, I'm as my mind is thinking, I take it to a spiritual level of holding on to promises. I have this promise, and I can find exactly in the Bible where it is, and I got to circle that. And that's what I hold on to when the doubts, when the unbelief, when those things come up, because all of a sudden I'll see it somewhere else unrelated to here. And it's like, yeah, that's it. Or, maybe in a dream. Or someone will call me, hey, I had a dream about you, and it was this, and it was exactly what the promise was. And so that's where I would have to say that I see it the most in my life.
Interesting. I also have this thing called the rule of three.
Oh, yes. Yes. I love the rule of three.
When something shows up that compels me to evolve or grow, or do the thing that scares the shit out of me, and it shows up 3 different ways, right? Hey, have you looked at going from one-on-one to an organization? Hey, will you do this for my team? Hey, how many people can you facilitate in your call? Like, there's 3. Okay, now I can like legitimately put some energy into entertaining whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
What does that pattern show up for you as well, or is there something like that for you?
Many times, mine was actually a number 222. And
Oh.
so for the past, I don't know, I want to say 30 some years,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm thinking about something or maybe worried about something, this goes way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was a 222 license plate, whether it was just, looking at my watch, it was 222, or getting a receipt and the receipt number was 222.
Mm-hmm.
So mine was very much like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything more specific or tangible. Sometimes I just know,
Mm-hmm.
you just know. I hold on to the promise.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you wait and you wait and you wonder if the promise is ever going to come
Mm-hmm.
to pass.
Can you give me an example?
Then there's that example. I mean, then it shows up with my healing.
Yeah.
I can absolutely say without a doubt, going through long haul COVID, and I had lesions all over my body. I was the president of NSA Arizona at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a struggle just to be able to continue. And it felt like there was burning acid going through my body, all these neurological problems and pins and needles. And I still have some recall where I'm thinking of a word and I can't get the word. So I still have some of that. But I had to hold on to, I am going to be healed. I believe our bodies were designed to be healed.
Yep.
And that was, for me, it was holding on to those promises and believing. Didn't matter what I was feeling. I had to make the symptoms smaller in my mind than what I felt, they were. So that's my most recent example.
Is there, I don't know if you can put math behind this, but is there a substantial difference if you had to create a ratio around it between the size of the promise and the significance of your circumstance?
I don't know that I could put a number to it, but I absolutely believe that. I believe the bigger the promise, the more growth we have to experience. We can't just, and this, we can't just sit back and, oh, this is going to happen. Although a lot of people believe that. And I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to, and then they do absolutely nothing about it. But I believe that the bigger the calling, the bigger the promise, not that it's work, but there's change. You got to evolve to be able to, grow into your promise. And that doesn't sound right, growing into it, but
no, I'm picking up what you're laying down.
okay,
It reminds me of this passage in Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. Are you familiar with that?
No, I have his other book, but I don't have Outwitting the Devil.
So there's Think and Grow Rich, and then
Yes.
Outwitting the Devil came out.
I want to hear it. Yeah, I want to hear this.
And he really calls out the practice of prayer in that the only thing that results from prayer is a plan. What's required for prayer to manifest in physical reality is action on said plan. And where prayer falls short is people fail to take action.
Absolutely.
And so as you're describing how, evolving into, the inner desire to create the intrinsic motivation to keep that promise that forces your evolution and growth, that it just reminded me of that passage of Outwitting the Devil.
It's so true. It's so true. We have to take the action. And yesterday, I think I was reading, I don't know if you're familiar with the Old Testament, I was reading a story of a miracle where this woman said, the creditors, my husband's dead, the creditors are coming after, they want my sons. And it was either Elijah or Elisha said, what do you have? I don't have anything, just a little bit of oil and some flour. Get every single bottle you can from neighbors, get bottle. and fill it up with the oil. And so with all, and don't get too little. And she filled it up until there was no more oil. He said, go sell the oil, pay off your creditors, and live on the rest. And so to me, it's like, yeah, you know, so many times, exactly what you said, people say, oh, I'm praying for this, I'm praying for this. He gave her specific actions to do, and she had to do it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have her miracle. So you don't get the promise unless you're doing what you need to do to be able to get that promise.
There's a lot of fruit that are just simply born of activity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to do it. That's why. I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
Well, I tell people, you know, the universe operates in reciprocity, and what's required for that reciprocity is you have to take the first step. You know, that's where our methodology, that is the next easiest step, comes from. It really leverages from an esoteric universal perspective, the law of compounding interest.
Without a doubt.
You're going to take a shit ton of really small, seemingly inconsequential steps that all of a sudden, when you pick your head up one day and realize how far you've actually come, you're like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah. You know? And it starts with habits. You start with your habits that turn into routines, and because our bodies love patterns. And so when we start creating these habits, then our brain starts getting, oh, we do this, and that leads to action. And that's how we face change and make the change that we want.
What's your practice? I know you have, you know, all these certifications and credentials, and you're a learner. Outside of the confines of anything academia, where else? What are your other sources of this learning?
Other sources of learning, I guess I'm very reflective. And so I look at people and I look at people's lives, but that may take me back to academic. I don't know. I think it's more of, you know, just using my own insights to learn about people and things and how things work. So besides, you know, textbooks and learning, I think it's just relations.
You know, when I present the example of that out-of-body experience I had on the porch, if I just let the story sit in that moment, it really seems like what's required to preserve and insulate that moment is to just stop doing things. And I would argue, and I'm curious your perspective here, it takes a lot of work to create that insulation.
Oh, without a doubt, it does.
You know, I have so much more on my plate, but it's so much more of the right stuff that creates that insulation. And I can't remember the last time I worked this hard. And I'm curious for where you are and everything that you've been through in building your practice to where it is now, long haul COVID and all that taken into consideration. When you hear that, it takes a lot of work to make it look easy.
Yeah, for me, it was creating a life of flow. And so that, to me, flow is where you're just not hitting your head, you're kicking the gourds. Flow, and in this world, we're always going to have the oppositions. Things don't work, something happens, we're going to have it, but we're able to run with the punches much better. So for me, it's creating that life of flow. I know when I have my highest levels of energy to do certain work, whether it's writing the blogs, doing videos, working on my business. And so I try to utilize that time. And I, really believe in Cal Newport's deep work. So I do deep work. Everything else is gone. I set the timer. I do the Pomodoro technique, 25-5, and I'm so productive. And so that puts me in a flow. I used to run, but my knees don't like to run anymore. And so I'll take my dog out in the desert every single morning, and we do 3 miles a day. And that I try to do it, at the risk of, meeting the coyotes along the way, but I do it at sunrise. It's just such an incredible experience, and it's relatively quiet. There are a few people who, are out, but that also helps to contribute to flow. And I try to do one flow activity a week. For me, it's, going to the Papago Amphitheater, and just because it reminds me of when I used to do stadiums, and I can go up there, and that's my fix for the week. So it's creating these little positive experiences, because that cultivates more positive emotions that give you the dopamine hit. And so that's how I insulate, to use your terms, is just trying to keep in that life of flow. But also, I don't want it to become, a task, because I can, as type A, I can turn everything into a task. Oh, got that done. Okay, on to the next. And then where's the insulation? So but it's always a little tug of war there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Rita, lighten your pace a little bit. You're starting to go too fast. You're going into the task mode, and you want to be in the flow mode. And that's with anything. That's when filming my videos, it's like, okay, it's like, no, you have a message here, and it's an important message. So it's going between the task and the flow.
What I'm hearing is that flow state is one of those promises that you're keeping on the regular basis.
I try. I really try.
What happens? What is your, oh man, I don't want to make it sound reprehensible. Is that the
you
right
don't
word?
have to know. You don't have to worry about saying anything.
Yeah. When you feel yourself falling short of that promise, what's the correction? What's the shift that you create for yourself so that you can get back on track?
To slow down. It's like a warning to me, like, okay, what's going on? What am I missing? What am I doing, or what am I not doing? What do I need to let go of? And so that's many times that's what it is what do I need to let go of? And, I mean, sometimes, things just happen and you can't do anything about it, but you can still go through it as flow as you can, so that it doesn't take you out of your game.
Yeah. Yeah. The oh man, keeping the promise of flow. I love that. And it is so Rita, it really speaks to your essence. And, when you're communicating that concept to your clients, is it met with a lot of resistance in the beginning? Does it seem like not feasible for all the shit that they have on their plate and the mandates that they've imposed on themselves?
That is probably the biggest challenge with them, is just that they don't feel that they can create the flow without giving something up. And that giving something up is usually monetary or business wise. And so, but, we keep on going, and we keep on going to where, once again, I have a formula where if you can do this and, follow this, not in a task way, in a transcendence way, to where they're using more of like the via character strengths, the 26 strengths that every single human being has, whether it's kindness or resilience, perseverance, using more of those to start recognizing, okay, I can get into this flow. But it's just habits. It's creating these small habits and resisting the inner critic that's, you're going to lose it all.
Rita, you're amazing. I really appreciate you making yourself available for this conversation. Where can everybody find you and submit their applications to Transform University?
Oh, Michael, this has been so fun. I'm glad that besides at the gym, we don't want to interrupt each other. We just kind of high knuckle. It's just been great to, get to know you and talk to you a little more. My website is transformuniversity.net. And I have one-to-one coaching, I have group coaching, trainings, and I love what I do. And I love being able to help people create what you would say that insulation or the flow to be able to live life with more. I never use the word work-life balance because I don't think that exists.
It's all about harmony, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Harmony, flow. That's what
That's
it
it.
is.
Yeah.
And, I just love being able to help people to, start quieting the inner critic. I have the inner critic. We have our inner critic. We have our inner warrior. And you want to build the inner warrior. So the inner critic is there, but who's in control? And so I love to be able to help people with that.
Oh, your mission is pure and you're good at it. And so thank you so much. Check out everything that Rita has to offer at transformuniversity.net. And remember, if you're on a mission to be the fittest leader possible, it starts with integrity, courage, and ownership, built on the foundation of alignment first. See you next time.
Right.